Ross, Miami McGill, is about to complete his revenge on the Richardsons' pay, and he is doing it in the riskiest way possible. On the 19th of August, Dale Richardson was ambushed in front of thousands at an Oasis reunion gig. The young attackers left him battered in the crowd, and hours later, they posted a video mocking him. But Dale was not the only one hit that night. Another man, taxi boss Stephen Rose, found himself under fire. Well, he insists he is just a businessman, yet back-to-back attacks tie him directly into the McGill-Richardson feud. So, what really happened on the 19th of August? Who were the victims, and who was the puppeteer pulling all the strings? See, Dale Richardson walked into Murrayfield that August night, thinking about music and memories. He walked out, bloodied, humiliated, and starring in his own Gangland nightmare. The younger brother of jailed cocaine kingpin Mark Richardson had become exactly what he had spent years trying to avoid, a target with a bull's press's eye painted on his back. The attack was sudden and unexpected. Young men with clear ties to Ross McGill's crew spotted Dale in the packed Oasis reunion crowd and pounced. They didn't drag him somewhere quiet or wait for a better moment. They beat him down right there, among thousands of unsuspecting fans. This is how they turned a nostalgic night out into another chapter of Scotland's bloodiest gang war. Security intervened and saved Dale's life, but the real damage was done. What happened next revealed just how calculated this violence had become. Hours after Dale limped away from Murrayfield, a video was posted online. It was set to Oasis's Roll With It with the taunting caption, "Did Dale enjoy Oasis?" The incident proved to the Richardsons that nowhere was safe for them anymore. Dale's beating might have grabbed headlines, but it was part of something much bigger. The same forces hunting Richardson blood had also set their sights on Stephen Rose, a man who claims to have nothing to do with gangs. But the thing is, his taxi empire keeps burning alongside Richardson properties. With suspicious timing, Stephen Rose built Capital Cars into one of Edinburgh's largest private hire operations. His gated mansion in the city's wealthy suburbs and fleet of hundreds of vehicles almost make you believe that he runs a legitimate business. Yet somehow, his name had become tangled in Scotland's most vicious criminal feud. The pattern started in May. On May 6th, 2 Capital Cars taxis were torched outside the company's Gorgie Road office in the early morning darkness. Hours later, arsonists targeted a property linked to Dale Richardson using identical methods. The timing was not a coincidence. Anyone with a brain can see that. Someone wanted Dale and Rose hurt on the same night, sending a clear message that both men were now connected targets in this expanding war. August brought even more brutal attacks. Just after midnight on the 19th, the same night Dale was getting pummeled at the concert, masked men carrying machetes marched to Stephen's fortress-like home. His security systems went off before the gang could breach the gates, and neighbors watched the attackers flee after hearing the police sirens. The failed home invasion was terrifying enough, but McGill's crew was not finished. At 3 AM, while Dale's beating was still fresh and Stephen was probably lying awake, wondering if the machete gang would return, Capital Car's office exploded into flames again. 4 fire engines raced through Edinburgh's empty streets as the arsonist's handiwork lit up Gorgie Road. The building survived, but by then Stephen had realized that his business life and personal safety were both under siege. Police arrested 2 men for the August arson, but the arrests only brought up a bigger mystery. Why Stephen Rose? Why did gangs keep pairing his destruction with Richardson family attacks? Stephen insists that he was baffled. He told the reporters after each incident that he had no gang connections and could not understand why anyone would target him. His denials might have sounded convincing to the public, but Edinburgh's criminal circles know that attacks like these don't happen by accident. Capital Cars operates in a grey area that makes Rose's protests difficult to believe. Taxi firms in Scotland's major cities have long served purposes beyond transporting passengers. They provide vehicles for surveillance, logistics for moving contraband, and legitimate fronts for washing dirty money. Police intelligence has tracked suspicious activity around several Edinburgh private hire companies for years, and Capital Car's size and scope make it particularly valuable to organised crime. The Gorgie Road location is another piece of suspicion here. Stephen has positioned his headquarters in an area with deep Richardson influence. The fact that McGill's crew keeps targeting Capital Cars suggests that they see it as Richardson-friendly territory that needs to be scorched. Not only that, some Capital Cars drivers have been rumoured to have connections to Richardson associates. This is hardly unusual in Edinburgh, a city where gang members need day jobs and taxi firms would hire anyone with a clean driving record. These loose connections might have been enough to make Stephen's company seem like part of the Richardson network in McGill's eyes. But to understand why McGill is willing to torch entire businesses or beat a man in public requires going back to where this all started. Every blood feud has an origin story, and this one began with a betrayal. Earlier this year, Ross McGill was feeling like he was on top of the world. He lives in Dubai, from where he controls his drug empire. The former Rangers Ultra has become an international cocaine broker, the kind of player who moves serious weight between continents while sipping cocktails in 5-star hotels. He didn't always live this way. McGill slipped out of Scotland in the early 2022 after skipping a court appearance on a drug case. He knew the walls were closing in, and Dubai was the perfect escape hatch. With no UK extradition treaty and a reputation for sheltering Europe's most wanted, the city offered protection and luxury. Then, a few months ago, a £500,000 deal landed on his desk. It was a multi-kilo handover that should have been routine. McGill probably thought it was just another day at the Office of Organised Crime. The exchange went smoothly. Handshakes, pleasantries, the usual theatre of professional criminality. McGill walked away with what looked like $500,000 in legitimate cash. It was only later, when his people tried to process the payment, that they realized they had been fooled. Most of the money handed over to them was fake. It was counterfeit. In the underworld's twisted economics, losing drugs hurts your wallet, but losing face destroys your reputation. McGill felt publicly humiliated. The sting cut deeper because word quickly spread through Scotland's criminal networks about who had pulled off this audacious scam. The fingers pointed directly at men connected to jailed Edinburgh kingpin Mark Richardson. He is the cocaine baron who lives in his prison cell, but his name is enough to terrorize his rivals outside. Whether Richardson himself ordered the con became irrelevant. His associates had made McGill look like an amateur, and in Gangland's harsh mathematics, that kind of disrespect demanded blood. McGill had a choice: walk away and accept the loss, or wage total war against anyone connected to the Richardson name. McGill chose war, of course, and he chose to make it spectacular. Operating from Dubai's sun-soaked safety, McGill began assembling his revenge army. He called out to his young, hungry soldiers to wage war on the Richardsons. The crew he has built is known as Tamo Junto, Portuguese slang meaning "we're together," and they do stick together with the aim to end the Richardson name. The violence started in March 2025. Firebombings ripped through Edinburgh and East Lothian. Businesses, cars, and homes linked to Richardson's men were set on fire in a string of nighttime attacks. If your name or postcode tied you to Richardson, it automatically meant you were in danger. McGill didn't care if you were a cousin, a driver, or even just a neighbour. Then the brutality spread to Glasgow. Tamo Junto turned its sights on the Daniel family, which is a long-standing ally of Richardson. McGill's men firebombed the homes of Bonzo Daniel's relatives, from his sister's house to his uncle's bungalow. Even his ex-girlfriend was not spared. It seems like Ross McGill has ordered his men that if anyone stands with Richardson or the Daniels, they are fair game. And McGill's crew was not always careful. In Milton, they raided the wrong house. Inside were a 7-2-year-old woman and a 1-2-year-old boy. Both were assaulted. They had no connection to Richardson, no connection to Daniels, just collateral damage. It shows how far Tamo Junto is willing to go, and how little they care about crossing lines. The violence didn't stop at firebombs. There were beatings, slashings, and street ambushes. A middleman involved in the fake cash cocaine deal fled to Thailand, thinking he was safe. He was dragged off the street in broad daylight and slashed across the face. Not only this, properties tied to Richardson's family were repeatedly torched. Associates were attacked in the street. Even Annette Daniel, the 6'3" matriarch of the clan, was not spared. In August, her house in Bishopbriggs was firebombed alongside her brother Norman's bungalow. This means nobody is off limits right now. At one point, Stephen Bonzo Daniel tried to end the madness. He is known as a feared enforcer, and he shocked everyone by attempting to play peacemaker. Through trusted contacts, Bonzo reached out, hoping to broker some kind of truce between McGill's crew and the Daniels and the Richardsons. It was not out of fear though, he did it out of business sense. The war was drawing police heat and spiraling out of control. He had to do something. But McGill spat on the offer. His gang released a video, this time with a caption reading, "We have no rules, we have no limits, we are coming for you." That was McGill's answer. Meanwhile, in Dubai, McGill was attracting the kind of attention his criminal neighbors hated. Dubai has long been a safe haven for Europe's most wanted, including drug lords, fraudsters, and mob bosses. Here, all of them hide in plain sight under one unspoken rule, that they have to keep quiet. They can stay there as long as they don't bring heat to the city. McGill broke that rule. His firebombings and murders were splashed across Scottish and Spanish headlines, and the dots all led back to him in Dubai. That's why the brawl at the luxury gym in July mattered so much. Glasgow gangster Jimmy Jameson spotted McGill lifting weights and snapped. In front of shocked staff and members, Jameson lunged at McGill. He threw punches as people scrambled to pull them apart. There hadn't been bad blood before, but Jameson is another exile in Dubai. He saw what McGill was doing and knew it was putting every fugitive in danger. If Dubai police lose patience, everyone hiding there risks exposure or extradition. McGill is not just waging war on the Richardsons, he is threatening the safe haven of every criminal around him. And that's McGill's brutality in a nutshell. He doesn't care about old rules, about neutral ground, or even about collateral. He is willing to burn houses, humiliate rivals / innocent bystanders, and spark shootouts abroad. For him, the feud is to show every other gang that Ross McGill cannot be crossed. By late summer, police in Scotland admitted that something needed to be done. There was too much violence, and they could not let it get out of their hands. Operation Portaledge was initiated, and since then it has made 57 arrests. But the firebombings and beatings keep coming. Spanish detectives are feeding intel back to Glasgow after Eddie Lyon Jr. and Ross Monaghan's murders. Even Irish authorities are circling, suspecting McGill's war might have links to the Kinahan cartel. The walls are closing in, yet McGill is not ready to give up. From Edinburgh homes to Glasgow estates, McGill's fingerprints are everywhere. And if anyone thinks the violence will burn out soon, the latest attacks prove otherwise. This war is far from over. What do you think? How is this going to end? With more blood on the streets, or with someone finally stopping Ross McGill? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. If you want to stay updated about this brutal gang war, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Goodbye for now.